Hello and welcome to an in-depth single game tutorial. In this game I played Warwick and I'll be explaining how you can essentially carry your games 1 versus 9 with the right combination of opportunity, measured aggression, and what I'm calling extended sequences. In other words, how long you stay out to capitalize on situations to gain advantages. The idea is to show you how you can hard carry your games and enable your team to catch up in order to steal a win. Even if they're not working too well together and maybe everyone's falling behind, you can be that rock and you can push forward and carry your team to victory. Hard carrying means you have the most damage, it means you have the most vision, it means you have the highest kill participation. It means you're affecting the game in all its phases, not just having 20 kills that you showed up and stole at the last second. Now even though I feel I carried this game, I did die and made a big mistake early on. My only death was a level 3 gank that I made mid lane. You can see in the minimap that Jhin is currently ganking top, so we're on opposite sides of the map. I head towards mid and I eagerly flash in to engage and kill the Zed. My Katarina really isn't ready to help me out. She might have cooldowns, she's out of range. That's why it's very important that you ping and let your laner know that you're coming to gank so that they can get ready for when you arrive. I managed to burn the Zed's flash, but my crucial mistake is not respecting my exit pathing. I should have left directly back up the mid lane, or, proceeded into the enemy jungle and gone around back into my river. I would have survived and Zed would have had to go back. However, I head into the enemy jungle, then freak out and come back towards the mid lane. This allows the Zed time to walk up and ignite me. The reason this happened was because I was worried about running into the Jhin. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that it was ganking top. I actually didn't look at the minimap. And that's my mistake, I really should have done those things. Those are very basic. Nevertheless, my Kayle manages to make the enemy die in a week. I sprint towards the top lane and I arrive for a beautifully timed countergank. I focus on saving the Kayle and killing the Jhin. This gives her more confidence, a bit of a lane advantage, and forces Diana to go back while losing quite a few minions at the tower. While it's important to gank and have an impact on the map, it's also important to catch up from if you are set behind a little bit. Make sure you're getting your clears and getting your items early. So after some time of neutral farming, because no lane was really gankable, I rotate to take my second red buff. Now at this point Katarina's starting to tilt a little bit and is spam pinging me to gank. Don't let this irritate you. Just play your game and don't tilt yourself. You're the one that can carry and you know this. I take my red and I rotate to use my ult for the first time. Now if you're a mid laner in this situation, please use your ult and ignite. Especially if you ping me to come over, be ready with your cooldowns to go all in. Don't ping me to come and when I arrive you're just not ready. Had Katarina ulted on my ult and ignited, Zed would have died. Fortunately bot lane is neutral, there's a ton of wards and they have an Alistar so it's quite difficult to gank. I'm focusing on getting my Kayle going as well as catching my Katarina up. I'm also focusing on counter jungling the Jhin who is hard camping top lane and being very one dimensional. He's really not doing anything else, not taking my jungle and not having an impact anywhere else on the map. So, immediately after my failed level 6 mid gank, I take my blue, I steal his raptors and I return to mid again. Katarina is low and this isn't the best gank to do, but she needed to wait a little bit and let me wear Zed down. Unfortunately she doesn't, she goes in and Zed full combos her. Had his W been on cooldown and I feared him, then she could have come in and used her ult and ignite. But again she doesn't. And this bad position causes Zed to kill her, and once again lets him escape. His Hex Drinker saves him, but I managed to run around the side because I'm quite irritated he hasn't died yet and he's getting quite cocky with the way he's playing. So I use my passive, sprint around the side, flash through, Q him, and now he's dead. I've noticed that Jhin is ganking top lane again. So immediately, I don't go back, I don't farm jungle, I turn to counter gank. Jhin and Dan are committing their cardinal sin of having vision of me due to the Skull Crab in the river, but they don't use their minimap, they just see that I'm half HP and they don't expect me to come up. But I eat the honey fruit and I'm healthy enough to walk up there. I waltz up, I ult them, and we get the double kill. Kayle should have backed off and actually realized I had it under control, and sadly she dies, but it's still a good turnout for us. I push the lane to deny Diana more CS, I clear my jungle, and I go back to buy. This is an example of an extended sequence. I stay out and simply transition smoothly across the map and react to the action. I don't go B when I could counter gank, I don't farm my own jungle when I could counter jungle. Make sure you're very efficient with your time and your movement on the map. Now I'm 4-1-0 early, and I have a huge lead in the jungle. So I figured, maybe I should do the dragon at this point. However, now I am overconfident. It's easy to solo the dragon, you can do it at level 5 and level 6. And I could have done it earlier, but the map didn't really allow it. So let the game come to you and play off of the game, especially if you want to carry. Don't force things that aren't necessary. I did it a little bit, and I did it here again at the dragon. I should have hit the plant to see if there's any vision around dragon, but I'm simply lazy and I walk right by it. This lets the enemy team completely collapse on me because they have multiple wards around the dragon pit, as you can see. I also foolishly waste my ult, which is a high cooldown, on the Alistar, thinking my Lucian's gonna come over. My bot lane's been bickering the entire game. Lucian bought a tier and he wants to farm and ignore us. That's okay, you know, I'm not gonna chastise, I'm not gonna insult him. Let him do his thing. Don't tilt your team if you want to carry them. That's the most important thing. I simply back off and we'll come back again. Rakan and I managed to survive, and they expended a little bit of resources coming to get us, so that's okay. It's now reached the point in the game where I'm determined to focus on getting that first tower gold. I take my third red buff and I use the plant to hop over into the river. This allows me to only walk up through one bush that might be warded, because I have no idea if tri-bush is warded also. I see the control ward down is placed in a side bush. I clear it and I move to take the scuttle crab just below. But here's the thing. I haven't seen Lee Sin for a bit, and I knew he was camping topside quite heavily. The enemy now thinks I've gone to the mid lane or somewhere else on the map after I cleared the control ward. So even though you see me clearing the crab on my screen here, my eyes are fixated on the minimap. I see Lee move in on Kayle yet again, and I rotate up, we get the double kill from the counter gank, again, and we take the first tower gold. I check to see if I can steal any camps and I get ready to go back. However, I see Zed's pushing and my Rakan is moving up to have a gank of his own. I only watch Zed's movements and I move to cut him off. You can see on my screen that I'm watching Zed and I'm moving my character separately so that I can cut him off underneath his tower. We dive him, burn his flash, and kill him. Now instead of just going back and walking away, I place a ward, I steal Lee Sin's raptors again, I take the scuttle crab, and now I can go back. Too often people do a really good play and walk away and not punish the enemy further. They're dead, you have the advantage, get more of an advantage. Steal farm, get vision, take scuttle crabs. This is a huge extended sequence that gives us a really nice hefty lead, even though no lane has won by themselves. The next extended sequence is a not as fun one, but it's quite rewarding if you have the patience. Now if you want to carry your team, when it just isn't working well together, no one can seem to get a lead of their own, and they're struggling to control the map, you have to use your lead that you've gained to force action and to force the taking of objectives. So here we have a nice gank and we kill the enemy ADC, where I let Katarina pick up the kill. I'm fed, I have 6 kills, I really don't need any more kills. Now I need my team to gain gold, experience, and confidence, especially if we're going to win the game. When we say carry 1v9, we just mean that your teammates aren't really doing their bit to help carry the game and you're able to push them over the edge. We win a prolonged poking battle and out-sustain them. My Lucian is foolishly pushing the mid solo with no advanced vision, so the enemy decides, hey, we should collapse on the Lucian. Unfortunately for them, because they send 3 mid, we're able to get 2 bottom towers. They push back and get our mid lane, thinking they made the right play, which they did get an objective, but they lost 2 objectives in trade for that. At this point I get a little bit greedy and I try to counter jungle when I really shouldn't. They attempt to catch me out, but I have good itemization, and I'm quite far ahead. I simply disrupt the enemy, I move in and out with the Rakan, and I wait for my Kayle and Katarina to catch up to the fight, which is currently 5v3. They can't get through us, and even the wild turtle, Lucian completely suicides in the attempt to get a kill. Kayle is dishing out great damage and she's using the fact that I camped her lane quite heavily, and she's making up for the fact that she didn't win solo. That's not a problem. Currently now, Kayle is the one that is going to help me carry these teamfights. I get a little greedy and I chase him between towers to try to catch the Zed, but fortunately the Lee Sin mistimes his Q and panics and kicks me out, which is good because I probably would have killed him with one more auto and Q. Finally I do go back, and yeah, the sequence should have ended earlier, but overall Kayle and Cat got more fed, we got a couple of objectives, and the waves are now pushing in our favor. Now it's important that you do actually focus objectives and don't chase too much. I did get a bit carried away this game. You need to have fun and enjoy your lead, but ensure that the lead continues to grow. If you have a 5k gold lead at 20 minutes, and it's still 5k in 10 minutes time, you didn't grow your lead at all, and in fact, effectively it shrunk. So the next extended sequence, my team gets caught out without me, but I'm Warwick and I'm able to sprint down the mid lane. I'm watching the action. We, as a team, win this fight. I didn't really need to carry this fight, I just needed to have a presence. So that's a sign that me carrying the game early and forcing the action a bit has allowed my team to catch up, which is the whole point of carrying. It's not to starve your teammates, you want to enable your teammates. After this teamfight's where we have a bit of a disconnect, we could easily probably do the Baron, just KO myself and Rakan. And we do get that inner mid lane tower, which is important, but we don't do anything else with that 4-kill teamfight that we just won. I look to counter jungle, but there isn't anything left and the enemy is spawning again. So what I do is I pretend to back, but I'm still watching the minimap. I'm sitting in the mid lane because I want them to see me going back. I want to bait them into a fight. They engage in my team, thinking I'm leaving. I stop at the last second and race to assist my team. I really do engage hard in the Diana and force the issue, knowing I can live, and I know my team has been rotating to me during these fights when I go a bit aggressive. And through smart team fighting, I get a Quadra kill thanks to everyone else dishing damage. Yeah, I'm quite far ahead and I'm doing a lot, but I couldn't have gotten it without my team. And this is where I make a huge crucial mistake, and I don't want you guys to make the same thing. Instead of taking an inhibitor, pushing the side lanes, taking the Baron, warding some more, I chase down a futile pentakill because I don't get them very often. I was quite excited. Rakan loses his life and we gain nothing. We had 2 4-kill teamfights in a row and we gained 1 tower. That is terrible macro decision making, terrible late game decision making, and a further waste of my lead and my team's now lead that we have. Fortunately, we repeat the team fight because the enemy team is starting to get a bit tilted by the fact that they keep losing team fights. And Katarina cleans up, we force them to surrender. We did actually turn on the Baron finally, but the enemy was sick of losing team fights, completely tilted and surrendered. So if you want to essentially carry 1v9 or hard carry your game, you need to be the warder, you need to be the engager, you need to disrupt, you need to be the shot caller, you need to do the damage. You also need to survive. I engaged the fights and I survived because I itemized correctly. Make sure you extend the time you're on the map and itemize for the game that you are playing. A lot of assassins build pure damage, don't build Merc Treads, don't build Hexdrinker, don't build GA, and then they die and blame their team. Well, you need to be alive to survive, so if you really want to have games like this, I advise you going with a fighter, someone who has sustain, someone who can live a long time and also do a lot of damage, and Warwick's great for that at the moment. But don't spam him please, because I don't want him to be nerfed. So, hopefully you can learn something from this game. It's important to know that sometimes you'll have these messy games, and simply destroying them in 3 team fights in a row is enough to get a large enough gold lead to force a surrender or to finally break the game open when you can get the Baron and begin sieging. So if you learned something in this game, why don't you gank the like button, subscribe for more tutorials and educational content, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this one. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys in the next tutorial.